What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JBsports, back again with another one. Teofimo Lopez, aka Mr. Takeover, will be back in action this Thursday night in Las Vegas, Nevada, aka Sin City. This guy has one of the best resumes in boxing at a very young age, man. He's been in there with the top dogs at 135. Now he's campaigning at 140. He's the lineal Ring Magazine WBO junior welterweight champion, which means that he is the top dog at 140 pounds. They got some good fighters in this particular weight class. You got the guy that was undisputed at 135 that has moved up and captured the WBC junior welterweight title, Devin the Dream Haney. You got the boogeyman of the 140-pound division, a guy that has a body on his record. He has a body on his record. You've seen other athletes say, man, I want a body on my record. Deontay Wilder got a lot of backlash, got a lot of criticism, said he wanted a body on his record. Teofimo Lopez, who will be in action this Thursday night, taking on Jamaine Ortiz, has said that he wants a body on this record. But you're talking about a guy that actually has a body on his record. Subriel Matthias, who is the IBF junior welterweight champion. He'll be taking on Liam Parro. That fight's going down in Puerto Rico. And that'll be a matchroom promoted card led by Eddie Hearn, the P. Diddy of boxing promoters, always in the video. He'll be putting on that particular event as he just signed Subriel Matthias. We have the WBA junior welterweight title that will be on the line when who's the WBA 140-pound champion? You got Subriel Matthias, he's the WBA junior welterweight title. Now we got the IBF vacant junior welterweight title will be on the line in the spring of 2024 when George Kambosos Jr., the favorite son of Australia, if it's not Tim Tszyu, he'll be taking on the legendary Hall of Fame fighter, one of the best fighters of this generation, Vasily Lomachenko. That fight's going down in the spring of 2024. That'll be for the vacant IBF junior welterweight title. Now this fight going down this Thursday night in Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada. It's going to be an epic matchup. You got a guy, Jamaine Ortiz. They call him the technician. He is a guy that's very technical, a guy that has a great jab. He's mastered the 1-2, left jab, right hand. He needs to double up on that jab in this particular matchup. He must control distance. He must go to the body to slow down the athleticism of Teofimo Lopez. He must be out of range of inside. He cannot be in the mid-range. He in the mid-range, he in trouble, because he can't match the hand speed and he can't match the power of Teofimo Lopez. He must control distance. He must outwork Teofimo Lopez, a guy that tends to fight in one style, and that's the style of a counterpuncher. He needs to outwork him. He needs to let his hands go. He needs to impose his will, as he is one of the bigger junior welterweight fighters, as he had a hard time making 135 in his last fight, so he moved up to 140, and I think he'll be a much stronger guy. Now, he hasn't been known as a guy that has a lot of power, as he has 17 wins, 1 loss, 1 draw, and 8 KOs. But he seems like he has respectable power. He has enough power to give his respect, as we've seen in the Vasily Lomachenko fight, as he was able to touch Vasily Lomachenko on numerous occasions. And I'm not going to say he hurt Vasily Lomachenko, but he definitely got his attention and even stunned Vasily Lomachenko in that fight, which, to the surprise of many, was a very competitive fight. And some people even thought he beat Vasily Lomachenko. Now, I thought Vasily Lomachenko won the fight. I think he took over in the championship rounds, and I had him winning that fight 115, 113, 7 rounds to 5. With all that being said, Teofimo Lopez must cut the ring off effectively. When you've seen in his fights that he's had trouble with boxers. The Sandor Martin fight stands out in particular, as Sandor Martin was able to fight off the back foot, control Teo with the jab, basically pot shot from the outside, stay out of range, and when Teo got closer, he was able to grab and smother Teofimo Lopez's offensive output, which was a brilliant game plan by Sandor Martin. Now, Teofimo Lopez has said in the lead up to this fight that he's going to put on a show. he's going to make an example out of Jamaine Ortiz. That Jamaine Ortiz has been running his mouth. Jamaine Ortiz is writing a check that his ass ain't going to be able to cash, according to Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo Lopez say he's got plan A through plan Z. And he must show a different style. He must show a more versatile style because he's a great counterpuncher. But can he cut the ring off? Can he come forward and be effective? Can he establish his jab? He has a good jab, as we've seen in the Vasily Lomachenko fight. He's got a very good jab, but he tends to head hunt too much. He must go to the body to stifle the movement of a Jamaine Ortiz. He must use the advantage that he has in this fight as being the more athletic fighter. In my opinion, he reminds me of Roy Jones Jr. His style is very similar to Roy Jones Jr. He relies on athleticism. He relies on hand speed. As he get older, he's going to have to get a little bit more technically sound. As we seen when Roy Jones got a little older, he started getting caught with shots, getting put to sleep like he had just took some NyQuil because he lost his athleticism. And I think that's one thing that Teofimo Lopez don't have to worry about right now. He's a young fighter in his 20s, but later on in his career, he must get a little bit better technically. He's going to be going against a guy that's very technical in Jamaine Ortiz. So it's a guy that could give him problems. This fight kind of reminds me of Bernard Hopkins, who was a technician, which is Jamaine Ortiz forte, taking on a guy that's very athletic, very explosive, in Teofimo Lopez, which reminds me of Roy Jones Jr. Now, in the first fight, Roy was still young. He was still at the top of his game. He was still really before his prime. I'm not going to say he was in his prime. He was probably before his prime. And he was able to overwhelm Bernard Hopkins. But in a rematch, when Roy Jones didn't have the athleticism, he was probably close to 40, if not 40, in a rematch. Bernard Hopkins, who was fundamentally sound, a technical fighter, was able to beat him in a rematch, which he couldn't do in the first fight when he was dealing with a young, athletic Roy Jones Jr. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. But Jamaine Ortiz is a live dog. He has a chance to pull this fight out. If Teofimo Lopez is not improved on coming forward and cutting off the ring, he could have problems with a guy that knows how to fight, knows how to control his opponent, knows how to jab. One thing Ortiz has to do is go to the body a little bit more. Both guys got to invest in the body. Both guys, in my opinion, don't go to the body enough. Like I said, Ortiz is a classic 1-2 fighter. Left hand, left jab, right hand. He tends to double up on the jab, but he's got to be careful that Teo be looking to counter the left jab and come over the top with the right, straight right hand and a right hook. So he's got to be very, very careful. He cannot pull the string on the jab. I know he's going to be kind of wary of the power, and he tends to kind of pull the string on his jabs at times. He can't do that because he's going to be looking to score and control and constantly try to make Teofimo Lopez reset off the scoring jab. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. This is a great stylistic matchup. You got the athletic, explosive fighter going against the technical, fundamentally sound fighter. You got the guy with the more power, but you have the other guy that's probably a little bit more versatile, because Jamaine Ortiz can fight going backwards and Jamaine Ortiz can fight going forward. So he's probably a little bit more versatile as far as fighting different styles than a Teofimo Lopez. So this is a great, great matchup. I think the athleticism, I think the power, and I think if Teofimo Lopez lets his hands go a little bit more and shows a different dimension to his game, fighting and controlling Ortiz a little bit more off the jab, making Ortiz come to him, showing a different look, giving Ortiz a different look. Because if he's steadily coming forward, trying to cut the ring off and, constantly trying to come over the top of the jab with the straight right hand and constantly trying to back up Ortiz, if he does that and don't give him another look, I think Ortiz will be able to kind of stifle the offense of Teofimo Lopez. So Teofimo Lopez must make Ortiz come to him at times and then try to set him up with the jab and set him up with his right hand. And then another punch that I think is going to be very, very prevalent, a punch that Teofimo Lopez is going to have to try to set up, and that's the uppercut. Because the fights that I've watched Jamaine Ortiz have, he's been susceptible to the uppercut. So that'll be something that Teofimo Lopez will be looking to land. He's one of the better uppercut fighters in boxing. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Another thing that Teofimo Lopez must do, he must lead at times. Like I said previously, he must lead. Quit being just a counter puncher. That's the difference between him and a Tank Davis. A lot of people say, oh, he'll beat Tank. He ain't gonna beat Tank. Tank is just as good a counter puncher than Teofimo Lopez, but Tank can fight off the back foot. Tank can come forward. Tank can fight in different styles, unlike Teofimo Lopez, who, in my opinion, you look at the Josh Taylor fight, Josh Taylor was tailor-made for him. He was able to counter an aggressive fighter coming forward, and he was able to beat him with his power and speed. Against Ortiz, he's a little bit different. He ain't gonna just come forward at all the times. He's gonna try to make you come to him at times, and he's gonna try to establish the jab and keep you at distance and controlled distance. Either be all the way out or all the way in. That's the style that Jamaine Ortiz is going to be looking to fight at. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. I like Jamaine Ortiz to put up a better fight than all the experts are predicting, but I ultimately like Teofimo Lopez to win a decision, 7-5 in a very competitive fight, a lot of swing rounds, but Teofimo Lopez being the A-side, being the guy that Top Rank, which is putting on this fight, is looking to expand his brand and expand his name and get his name out there for ultimately to be on a pay-per-view fight sometime in the future, in the near future at that. I think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt if it's a very close and competitive fight. Jamaine Ortiz must understand that, as he was on the wrong end of a decision to another popular fighter that's promoted by Top Rank, Vasily Lomachenko. So he needs to be much more aggressive and don't lose those championship rounds like he did in a Teofimo Lopez. That's going to require for him to have more gas in the gas tank than he had in the Lomachenko fight. So hopefully he's done the necessary work in training, the necessary work as far as road work, running, putting the miles in to make sure his body did not betray him in the championship rounds. You're talking about rounds 10, round 11, and rounds 12. Still be a guy that can be able to put a high punch output like he did in the first half of the fight. That remains to be seen. That's going to be a plot that's going to need to be played out in this fight coming up Thursday night on ESPN in Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City. I like Teofimo Lopez to win this fight. He might get a lot of flack, a lot of backlash. They're going to say, man, you look great against Josh Taylor, but against Jamaine Ortiz, you wasn't as dominant. Styles make fights. Jamaine Ortiz is a more versatile fighter than Josh Taylor. He's not a more accomplished fighter than Josh Taylor, but he's a more versatile fighter. As Josh Taylor is a one-trick pony, coming forward, bringing pressure, throwing hooks, leaving himself open to a lot of counters, and Teofimo Lopez was able to capitalize on that. It's not going to be as easy as against a Jamaine Ortiz, who can come forward more responsibly than Josh Taylor. Might not have the size advantage of Josh Taylor, but a guy that's got a better jab, a guy that can fight off the back foot, a guy that's a much more versatile fighter, a much more technical fighter than Josh Taylor. Styles make fights. So we will see what happens, and we will see what transpires. Let me know in the comment section who you like in this particular matchup. Do you like Teofimo Lopez, a.k.a. Mr. Takeover, or do you like Jamaine, the technician, Ortiz, one of the most underrated fighters in boxing? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Follow me on Facebook, Gerard Briscoe. Like, share, and subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. And I holla.